Hey, everybody. How's it going today? Let's move over here. Hey, good to see you, everybody. I see Coke. What's up, man? First, Chris is here. Hey, Chris, how you doing today? Great to see you. Hi, Dean. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out yesterday. I had a great time. We ended up going over to Universal Studios instead of Disney Springs. I thought it'd be better. It was fun. We had a little fun. I got a little sunburn. Check that out. Look at that. Drove home. Everything was fine. Excuse me. And then we ended up, I ended up pulling in, walked in the house. My wife looked at me like I had 3 hits. What's going on? I was like, what are you talking about? And I forgot to spin the cap around like I normally do in the parks yesterday, and hit me. It looks a lot better than it did yesterday, though. So, okay, today in the podcast, we've been talking about strumming chord progressions and what's complicated about strumming chord progressions. And let's see here. The 3 sections I talked about in the podcast were moving from chords to chord, hitting the chords on time, and then playing on beats and off beats, and what that is, and ways of communicating that, and ways of thinking about on beats and off beats. Some people play by feel, and sometimes they feel like anticipating a measure coming in. Sometimes they feel like, maybe being late on something, or they feel like hitting something right on the beat. We'll talk about that a little bit later today. How to classify that and get that sound, that sound of anticipating things. And then the question we had was, there any songs that you just can't get the rhythm to? So we'll go through that in a minute. Let's go to the chat before we get into all this. Chris is here. Chris says, working. How to play earlier. Posted my Try of the Chili's Black Summer solo in the group, which was fun. I'm like, cool, I'll check that out a little bit later. That's awesome. I'm working too today. In fact, right after this, I'm going to be finishing up coaching. The cracks are starting to show. It's been 1 week of the Academy days, and it was a successful week. I've made it through the week, got everything. There's two things that have suffered, and that is the posting the videos to the Academy, the new videos. I got the first one out, and then I can't seem to get to those. I'm going to be working on those tomorrow, and then I'm going to be getting to coaching this afternoon. I went through everyone's videos. I went through Dean's video. I could just do your coaching right now since I see you in the chat, in the chat. But I'll get to it after we're done today. And let's see. Chris says, I fished out my crazy cacti pedal for some light fuzz. Cool. What's your favorite fuzz pedals? Let's see here. Dean's getting into pedals, so but I would guess of fuzz tones, Dean. What's your favorite fuzz tone? I'm talking, is like the old Hendrixy kind, or more like the 90s, like the Smashing Pumpkins type fuzz. And if you have you had a lot of experience with fuzz pedals? And Chris, let's hear about your crazy cacti pedal. I'd like to hear about that. I'll talk about fuzz today. I was doing a little Robin Trower-esque stuff in the beginning today. I was thinking about that. I went to the Spark page and typed in Robin Trower, and a bunch of them showed up. And I grabbed the one. This one is Trower Bridge of Sighs, and it uses the YJM amp, the Ingve amp. It's really just a Marshall with the Univibe pedal afterwards. Now with the Spark amp, you can only put those kind of like choruses and vibes and everything like that after the amp. That's really not how it's used in this instance, but it sounded pretty good. I enjoyed it. I was having fun. Wrote a little something there as we went in. Dean says, I got no clue. Got no clue. Okay. I'm going to look up. I'm curious about the crazy cacti. That Chris has there. Oh, this is Kayleen, or say, I don't know how you pronounce that. So let's see. You've got volume, tone, drive. Here, let's share that. So we've got volume, tone, drive, and boost, and some switches, comp cut, FM, vintage. As soon as I see comp cut, and I saw what you just put into the chat there, Chris just said, apparently it's a clone of the full tone, full drive 2. It has MOSFET fuzz, which I like. Cool. Yeah, so I have a full, here it is right here. I have one of the older full drive 2s without all the switches. But what this one it has the comp cut on a push-pull pot right there. So volume, tone, overdrive, and boost, just like the full drive 2. Awesome. This is a great pedal too, so I'm curious to hear that. Now this doesn't really, I wouldn't call this one a fuzz. I would call this one more, mine doesn't have all of the MOSFET and the standard and FM and vintage and all that stuff. Mine is an older one where they were just going for like a tube screamery kind of thing with a boost. But even though it's not a fuzz, when I put the boost in and really push it on this pedal, I do get a fuzzy breakup type tone. So maybe they kind of went for more of that. That's pretty cool, man. How much was that? $37. That's awesome. I'm getting me one of those. I'm getting a crazy cacti. $37. Can't beat that. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. I'm just looking for anything. All right. So let's go back over here and back to the chat. Dean says, on the Spark amp, I have been playing with the mod EQ pedal. Makes a big difference. Yeah, we did a whole lot with the Hendrix things. In fact, I did a video of that, saying try this, try building your tones from the bottom up. You know, building your tones from the amp like you would if it was a real amp. And the problem with the Spark is that when you do a clean amp type sound, the master volume really just pushes the power amp tube. So you end up getting, so if you want to get something that's really clean on one of these Fender amps, what ends up happening is you start distorting the power amps with the volume knob. There isn't just a overall level for those. So if you've got all of your distortions, and without getting a clean sound, without like some sort of compressor or something, one of those other pedals, it's hard to get that clean sound that's up there in volume with, like an amp clean sound that's up there in volume with that. So the EQ pedal on the end there is really helpful. You can just turn it on and not change any of the EQ settings and just do the volume and raise that up, and it just boost it up a little bit more. If you do it too much, it will start to sound a little different, but it's a good way to get a little extra level on that. So we're talking pedals all of a sudden. Awesome. We are going to get to strumming in a few minutes. Coke says, oh, pedal talk. I should mention I've been learning electronics and have plans to modify some pedals of mine. Yeah, I used to do it a lot. And a lot of these are modded, especially that my old Tube Screamer. I really went to town on that one. There was a Brian Wampler of Wampler Pedals before they were a big thing, and he was really doing smaller work. He had a PDF out that you could buy that was mods of like all of the standard pedals, and you could get he figured out everybody else's mods. Didn't call him that. He wasn't stealing from them, but you could get like all the DS1 mods, the Steve I, the Seeing Eye mod, and all that stuff was in there. It's just schematics for that and how to do them. So that's kind of where I started with those too. But that's cool, man. That's fun. It's much easier. I also got into amp. I built this Fender I have down here. I started with a chassis, and everything else I put together. I did the cabinet. I did all the wiring and everything like that. And pedals are much easier to mess with. So that's fun. Awesome, man. Chris says the MOSFET boost gives the fuzz. Right. That's where mine will do that too if you really crank it. Listen to the solo later and see what you think of the tone. Just into my BB preamp clone and then to my solid state Marshall. Yeah. I'm having new appreciations for solid state Marshalls. I've been looking into them a lot, especially because, tubes are rumored. They're just expensive now, but it's rumored that we won't be able to get any after a while. So I was looking into solid state Marshalls, and you can do some stuff to those. You can do some of them, especially as you're using it, Chris, as a clean pedal platform. You can do some really nice stuff with those too. So you've got this into the BB, into the Marshall. Awesome. Yeah, and that's in fact all the way around. If you look on Robin Trower's most of his pedal boards right now, he has one even earlier than this one that I have. He is one of the prototype full drive 2s that he uses in front of. A lot of times he was using the vintage Marshalls for years. Now he's going more kind of plexi type thing and using more pedal gain but he was using these as boosts as well. So that's a good chain there, man. That's good. To the BB preamp. I like the BB preamp clone a lot too. I use that a lot. Coke says, I'm also designing a talk box pedal with a built-in natural reverb. Awesome. That's cool. Are you going, so a talk box pedals, there's two ways that you see them. There's ones where they use your amp, and that's the one where people would blow their amps up a lot, the old way, or they have ones that have it's a pedal and it's all contained. It's not using your amp. It's got a little speaker inside the pedal. Are you doing that? Or are you doing one that comes straight out from your amp? I always like talkbox stuff. I'm a sucker for those kind of things. Peter Frampton was I'd never seen this before. I saw a video on it was a country guy who developed the talkbox, and then I guess Peter Frampton was one of the up and coming people at the time, way back when, and he got in on that too. So yeah, some pedal talk today. Cool. It's always fun for pedal talk. So let's go into strumming a little bit here, moving from chord to chord. The things we went over in the podcast are fingering, thumb position, and neck position, right? The neck position and fingering is pretty, usually that's pretty obvious. The thumb position is the one that no one ever really pays attention to. So if you've got here, we'll do this. Let's see if I can. No, it's not going to go here. Maybe I'll just do it like that there. So here's your C chord, regular old C chord, right? Now, a lot of people will put their thumb up here, right? And look what it did to my fingers there. See how they're laying flat across? And if you listen to this high E, it's getting squashed, right? Probably the G too, right? And then some people say, well, I've got my fingers right up there. And I take the thumb, move it down here a little bit. Now look what happens to my hand, right? I feel it right away right here, but fingers are straight up and down on that now. And so not changing any of my fingers, not moving, sliding any around, not pressing down harder or any of those things. Just with my thumb, changes everything too. And then we also talked, the other one was neck position. Some people like to play down here like this. Some people play up here like this. I knew somebody who had a strap and had the guitar up real high like this, and that, if that's comfortable and that's how you play, hey man, we can't all be, having the guitar down by your, doing like a Slash or Billy Gibbons type thing. How do they play that well with the guitar down there so low? So next is hitting chords on time. Oh, we've been talking about being late. What happens when you're playing? I was playing something in B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, so sometimes it can even be a beat or two, but where it sounds the worst is in between beat 1 and beat 2. That's when one. That's the 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So you come in just a little late there. It sounds like you've missed it, How do you do that? And we've talked about this a few times. Stealing from the measure ahead of time and thinking ahead, knowing that is going to come up, knowing that it's going to take time. And I was hoping David would be here today. I guess David's not in. David, if you're here, say hey, man. How you doing? these are things that we're working on with David here. He's getting this stuff done. But the thing I want to talk about here today is off beats and on beats. Having some sort of a language for when you play. Not just 1, 2, 3, 4, but being able to communicate it. And the way people have settled is the downbeat and upbeat, right? Downbeat and upbeat, backbeat, those things. And that's, most people don't know what that means, new players. So what's the downbeat? How's that on the upbeat? And they kind of, build their own language, or the one ands. That always works. I tend to say that a lot. But the downbeat, strong beat, usually on the 1, right? That's boom, 2, 3, 4, down, 2, 3. That's your rhythmic tonic, right? That's your rhythmic center there. And then you can also, that's for one measure. You can also think of it in a progression, the very first beat of a whole progression. Boom. That's even more important, because if you think about it, it's all strong and weak, right? What's the strongest? There's the 1. What's the weakest? There's the last thing, whatever you're doing. So in one measure, it's beat 4. In the last, if you have an 8-bar phrase, bar 8 is the weakest one, because you're anticipating, you're hearing that the chord progression is about to start over again. And downbeat, right? Upbeat. And this is the one that I've always thought of upbeat. I was taught that upbeat meant beat 4, like rigid. And that's not the case. When I was researching the podcast and I was looking at a bunch of stuff, there's a lot of arguments. There's some Reddit arguments going on for that. Is it beat 4? But if you think about it, if you tap your foot, you're going down on beat 4, up on beat 1, or on the and of 4. That's 1 and 2 and 3. So a lot of people say, what's the and of 4? That's the upbeat. It's hard to say. There's no one to make all these terms solid. There's no board of guitar player decision makers. But regardless, the upbeat is something that happens before the downbeat. That's, to me, the real description of that. And then we talked about the backbeat. Backbeat is 2 and 4, right? So basically we have terms for beat 1. We have terms for beat 2 and 4. And 1 and 3 are considered just the strong beats. And then upbeats deal with something that happens beforehand. Off beats, you hear that a lot too. Off beats, usually those are the ands, right? And then we talk about syncopation. Have you heard that before? Syncopated music, syncopation. That's delaying the strong beat and putting it on an off beat. So when you think something's going to come in a 1, it's bam, it's off. And sometimes the whole measure can be put onto off beats and then put on beats. I've seen that many times too. So these are things to think about, getting a rhythmic language that can help moving from chord to chord. In your mind, classify when these different parts of a measure are going to happen and what strum you're going to use and what you can do to either not play them to prepare for the downbeat. On the upbeat, you say, I'm not playing the upbeat, I'm going to play on the downbeat, those kind of things. So it's a good thing. And the question for today was, there any songs that you just can't get the rhythm to? I have, what is that? Don't Give It Up. Don't Give Up. Don't Give It Up by Larry Carlton. It was a very fast song. And I have the rhythm. I can't play the rhythm up to tempo for him. It's played quickly on the low. It's arpeggios on the low strings. And it's a lot of it's sweep and some of it isn't. And going back and forth. And I can do it slow. But I'm thinking the thing that's holding me back is string size. I think my strings I think he had extremely light strings to be able to do that very light touch. So that's one that I always try and get that. One day I'm going to be able to play that up to tempo and play that out. It'll be fun. Let's see here. Coke says, I'll record my vocals with the mouth tube and then add that reverb signal to the mix. Right. So the mouth tube, your mouth is what's actually combining all the sounds together, and then so you're using a reverb on a board or a pedal. Add that reverb signal to. So I'll record the vocals with the mouth tube, right? And where is your reverb coming from? The pedal as well? The physical reverb added, I guess. Okay. So yeah, so when you'll see like Joe Perry, you see those guys with those the sounds coming from the microphone, right? That's how I thought it worked. Let's see here. Coke says you skipped a message. Oh, okay. I see. It's back there. Coke says, I've got a reverb box platform housing a piezo. I'm going to run a speaker into that with a box and seal it all up. Speaker will be input for instruments. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. Speaker in that with a box, seal it all up. Okay. Now that makes sense. Got it. Pretty cool. And then he said, I love playing with timing so much. Yeah, that's where the fun stuff is. Okay, so today, Saturday, I'm recuperating from yesterday with the sunburn. Hopefully by tomorrow, things settle down a little bit. It's already starting to settle down a little bit. We've got, I'll let you in on what's happening tomorrow in the podcast. Let's see here. Tomorrow we're talking about bar chords and execution. That'll be coming out in the middle of the night this evening. And we're going to be talking about all the issues that people have when they're playing bar chords, and not just beginners. You know, people who've been playing them for years, who things don't seem tight, or you hear someone else playing and then it's interesting there. So that'll be happening tomorrow. And then Monday starts off a week 2 of Academy Days, and a whole new set of cool things coming your way there. That's going to be fun. I'm going to head out in a minute because I've got some coaching to do. But if anyone has any questions or anything before I go, just throw them into the chat. Great to see everybody today. I'm curious to hear what this sounded like in the beginning. I just kind of quickly made up a little song before we went live today with this Robin Trower style thing. I already forget it. So I'm going to go head back before I do coaching and take a listen to that. Okay. All right. I guess I don't see anything in there. I'm going to head out. Great to see everybody on the weekend. Hope you're having a nice, easy, relaxing weekend. You're not having to work too hard like Chris and I. And Dean, I'll be working on yours first and just in a few minutes there. So you should be getting there pretty soon, getting your coaching pretty soon. Chris says, no worries, Lee, just working, man. So all's good. Awesome. Okay. All right, everybody. I will see you tomorrow. Same time, 2:00, same channel. And thanks for hanging out with me today. And thanks for hanging out with me yesterday. That was a lot of fun. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.